Hello, everyone. This is Ben with the Pallazzo Podcast Prospect Show, and I am coming here to chat about a couple of big things that happened here at the end of the winter meetings. The first big thing is the big trade that everyone's talking about, the Juan Soto deal. If you've been living under a rock or, I don't know, just ignored it intentionally because it involved the evil empire, Juan Soto is now a Yankee. He was traded, along with Trent Grisham, to the Yankees for pitchers Michael King, Drew Thorpe, Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, and backup catcher Kyle Higashioka. I'm leaving that in because, yep. So what did the Yankees get? Well, as far as prospects go, there was only one guy who's still a true prospect here, and that's Drew Thorpe. He was a second round pick out of Cal Poly, and he's a guy he's benefited a ton from the Yankees development system as a pitcher. He's 6'4", he's got an easy delivery, extremely good athlete. He was actually recruited as a two-way player for Cal Poly coming out of high school. But this is a guy who is probably going to work low 90s with the fastball. Really good life with the fastball, though. And has a solid slider. I mean, you're talking an average to above average slider. His money-making pitch is his changeup. He gets a ton of swing and miss off of that changeup. And that's going to be his determining factor, is how well he controls everything so that changeup can continue to play up. Thorpe is probably the highest ceiling on this group that the Padres got back, but that doesn't mean a lot. This is a group of back-end starters in general that might have some more upside in the bullpen for a couple of them, but primarily you're talking about a backup catcher and 4 pitchers that could be mid-rotation maximum guys, most likely a swingman back of the rotation type of pitcher. Michael King is the one that a lot of folks know. He had some success at the end of the year last year, but this is a guy he did some excellent work on his fastball. Used to be a big-time sinker slider type of guy. Changed the shape of that slider to the sweeper that the Yankees have everyone do. And then he changed his fastball to a mid-90s. He works in the mid-90s, but he changed his four-seam up. And what he did created tremendous carry through the zone on his four-seam. And he throws that about a quarter of the time now. And is about a 60% or so fastball pitcher. So he generates a ton of ground ball outs when he's really on his game, because he spots the four seam well, he gets excellent sink on the sinker, and then he pairs that with his sweeper and his change that also have some sink to them. He did have success at the end of last year, but I do not see him as a long-term starter as far as a mid-rotation type of guy. Some people really got excited about him in New York. Don't think he's that kind of guy. Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez are two very similar guys. Both debuted last year. Brito ended up pitching a little over 90 innings. But this is a back-end guy. Good velocity that I think he sat average like 96 and has in short burst touched 98, 99. But the thing is, I just don't know what he would use as a secondary pitch if he got to the bullpen, to the back end of the bullpen. That's the type of velocity you want there, but he just doesn't have that other pitch to go with it. Now, Vasquez has the opposite problem. Vasquez has a curve that is one of the best curves in all of the minor leagues. And he has a 4-pitch mix, fastball, cutter, changeup. All those are solid pitches. I mean, average-ish pitches, but the command is below average. If you have Brito's fastball velocity and command and Vasquez's curve, you'd have a back-end bullpen type of guy right there. But unfortunately, they're two different guys. So these are a lot of guys that are going to potentially eat up extra innings for the Padres. Nobody you should really write home about. Probably not a single guy on there that's going to be elite for your fantasy teams. Now, let's get into the Rule 5 draft. That's the next thing that caught a lot of attention. And quite frankly, it involved the Yankees up top. Mitch Spence was the first pick in the Rule 5. He went to Oakland from the Yankees. You're talking about a kind of a perfect multi-inning reliever, back-end swingman type of profile. Low 90s fastball, sweeper, like, of course, he's a Yankee, so he's got a sweeper. But probably not a guy you want making 30 starts in a year. Not elite velocity, not the type of slider shape and work that gets a ton of swing and miss. So there's your guy. There's Mitch Spence. Good chance to stick with the A's simply because he can eat up those middle innings between a young A's rotation and a pretty questionable A's bullpen. So he's got a good chance to stick. The second pick was also a Yankee, and he's possibly the guy I really like the best out of this year's draft as far as a chance to do something that has some level of impact on your fantasy team. Matt Sauer went to the Royals from the Yankees, and both his fastball, his slider could easily tick up to a plus pitch out of the bullpen. And if you were paying attention in the Arizona Fall League, he did pitch out of the bullpen. And this is a guy he's cleaned up a lot of his issues with his fastball, where it would lose kind of the ride that it has, the natural ride that it has when he gets deep into a game as a starter. Working out of the bullpen, he had about the same walk rate, but had almost 10% extra strikeouts out of the bullpen in the Arizona Fall League. And that's with he pitched against some good hitters and got plenty of strikeouts against those good hitters. If you have a chance to see some of the video of Sauer in the Arizona Fall League, take a look. I think he has a chance to stick immediately as a reliever, like a sixth inning guy, but the potential is there for him to move up. And we're talking a Royals team right now that has no set closer. So every chance that Sauer by the end of the year could pick you up a few saves. The White Sox then picked at number 4 and took Shane Drohan from the Red Sox. If he was a draft prospect, and when he was a draft prospect, everyone would refer to him as a prototypical college lefty type. Nothing elite. Fastball, cutter, curve, change, kind of throws the kitchen sink at you. The change is really stinking good. But he's just, the other stuff is just not good enough to play up into a full-time starter role. Now, depending on what the White Sox do, as far as trading guys away, they're going to give a rotation spot to Eric Fedde coming over from Korea. So you just don't know what kind of innings there might be with the White Sox. Drohan absolutely could pick up innings. I don't think he's going to hurt you as far as walks are concerned, but this is a guy who doesn't have elite velocity. Very well could be a guy that gets punished pretty hard if he goes a full second time around through a lineup. So could eat up some innings in the middle of a bullpen. I would say there's probably a pretty good chance he sticks. Then we come to me, one of the most exciting athletes that was involved in the Rule 5, and that is Nasim Nunez. The Washington Nationals took him. He was, he's from the Marlins, now on the Nationals. Elite speed and defense. The issue is you also have to make contact. And contact with at least some kind of authority, and he doesn't do that. So what you're talking about here, you're talking about a guy who could be a perfect defensive replacement and pinch runner. Is there room for that in the 2024 game? Some of the rules changes might say yes. Elite defense where a guy can cover plenty of ground without the shift, that type of player is pretty valuable. We know that speed picked up last year with teams that wanted to use it. So there's a chance. I like his chance to stick in Washington. But if they're expecting to get a starting shortstop or even a regular contributor with a bat, this ain't the guy. My last pitcher to look at here is Justin Slayton. Went to the Red Sox eventually. He was drafted by the Mets out of the Rangers system. And this is a guy who, coming in, to me, had the best pure reliever stuff. He's upper 90s with a fastball. Really good ride on that fastball. Can cut the fastball. He can do some things with his fastball. He has a feel to shape his fastball. Now, he also has a mid-80s sweeper. He works with a cutter, a curve. Kind of another guy who has a lot of other things. Nothing has really fully stepped up as the type of number 2 pitch you'd want out of a reliever. But he drastically improved his control. And this is a guy he was a pretty decent athlete, but he drastically improved his control this last year, and it made everything outside the fastball play up. Folks had to pay attention to the fastball, and then everything else played up around it. Out of the bullpen, that's probably a guy who works exceptionally well as a mid-innings guy. You're talking 6th inning type of guy. That would be a perfect guy right out of the pen. So I think there's a chance he sticks, especially with kind of the questions at the depth of the Boston bullpen. He could absolutely stick there. Now, the big name that a lot of people are excited to hear get called is Davison De Los Santos, who went to the Guardians with the 10th pick from Arizona. I'm a big fan of Davison. He has the type of power that when you watch, you can't teach that kind of power, that kind of raw power. But the issue is he has always been a guy who's been extremely aggressive at the plate. When he was younger, he had such a fast bat that it didn't really work, or that it didn't really affect how things worked for him. He could still get on base at a decent rate because he was basically hitting himself on base at a decent rate. In the second half of this year, he had to go through a big adjustment when he got up to the upper levels this year. And in the second half of this year, he did a solid job of making better swing decisions. The issue is most of his at-bats still did not end with a walk. He has not taken very many walks. He doesn't work a count very deep. which means a lot of times he may not be getting the very best pitch that he possibly could if he was forcing the pitcher into it. That's when a really good power guy like Davison maximizes that power, is when he forces a pitcher to make a mistake. And Davison just doesn't. I just don't see the chance for him to stick in Cleveland this year. He could come out and prove me wrong. And that power will be really fun if he does. And Lord knows Cleveland needs power. But I don't see him sticking. So that is what I'm going to wrap up and give you a little bit right here. I am recording a little bit here during the off season as we get prepared to do our next big three stuff. So tune in, be on the YouTube channel with a few recordings when it works for me. I'll tell you, we're getting into the winter sports season for me, which means as a newspaper reporter, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday basketball. Yeah, that's pretty much life. So doing live recordings could be a little bit of a fun challenge here over the next few months. But right now, we can do recordings like this for you guys. If you have something you'd like me to cover, give me a holler, and we'll definitely do some of that. So for now, this is Ben signing off, and we'll see you next time on the Pallazzo Podcast, Prospects Power Half Hour.